September 23rd, 2020. Reflections on week 2 of Dancing with the Stars for Entertainment Tonight. These were questions that they asked and then my answers. They asked, Carole, were you saved from elimination? How happy are you to still be in the competition? I answered, I am thrilled to still be in the running after the first elimination. There is so much I want people to know about why big cats should never be bred for life in cages, and why captive bred cats can never legally or ethically be turned loose. The clips on Dancing with the Stars are short, as are most of the media interviews, and people seem obsessed with wanting to know what it's like for me. The time I have to get across the far more important messages about why saving big cats in the wild is critical to saving our planet's life support system is so fleeting that I need to stay in the competition for the full season if I'm ever going to do justice by the cats. They asked, how nerve-wracking was it to be standing there with Pasha waiting to see who was saved? What was going through your mind when they announced you guys were in the bottom 2? I answered, it was horrible, gut-wrenching experience for 2 reasons. 1, really needing to win for the reason I just expressed, and 2, feeling just awful that winning means someone else loses. I like situations that are win-win, and I can't think of anything that would make losing easier on the contestant who is voted off the show. They asked, do you feel like this will motivate you to work even harder next week? I answered, I just have to stay in the game, and I don't know how I can work any harder than I did the first 3 weeks that I've been training here. My workload has increased exponentially as I try to handle my real estate work, dealing with the county issues, closings, and tenant issues. Then there are all of the demands of the sanctuary that fall to me. Thankfully, animal care is fully handled by my daughter, Jamie Veronica, and our amazing 100-plus team of staff, volunteers, and interns, but I have to sort through and answer well over 200 emails a day. Due to losing a third of our income, which came from small private tours of the sanctuary, I'm having to work a lot of outside income-producing projects to make up for the shortfall. I take every hour of every rehearsal Dancing with the Stars will give me with Pasha, and then will practice on my own in the apartment until my aching feet just can't take another step. While the swelling in these old paws subsides, I knock out as much computer work as I can, and as soon as I think I can take another 20 passes through the routine, I get back to it. E.T. asked, what conversations have you been having with Pasha on ways to improve even more from week 2 to week 3? I said, Pasha has his hands full trying to help me improve enough week over week. Since I don't know any dance moves except for the 2 dances he's taught me this month, each new routine is starting from 0. Posture is important in all dance, and that's something he reminds me constantly to be aware of, but he has to spend an awful lot of time just getting me to take the right steps. I just don't feel the beats to the music in a natural way, so I find myself having to pay attention to the words in the songs and which steps coincide, and to look to Pasha for cues to motion his own steps to try and look like we are dancing to the same drummer. E.T. asked, ABC announced this morning you'll be dancing to Circle of Life from The Lion King for Disney night. What was your reaction when you heard which song they gave you guys? And I answered, after being mortified at crying on national television last week, I was both delighted and concerned about hearing that Circle of Life is going to be our song for Disney Week. If there is a song that can bring me to tears, it's that one, and I really don't want to cry on stage. Just today, during practice, I got a call from the Florida Wildlife Commission that there was a bobcat in distress. I immediately called Jamie Veronica, and she and a team drove an hour away to assist the cat. When they arrived, they saw and filmed the most horrific sight I think I've ever witnessed during a native wild cat rescue. They were filming the way the bobcat was dragging both legs and painfully yelping out in her attempt to be fierce in the face of humans on the scene. She was rail thin and frantically pulling herself along by her front paws along the side of a lake and looking back over her shoulder. When they panned the camera to see what she was looking at, since it didn't seem to be the rescue team, they saw she was running for her life from the jaws of an alligator that was stalking her. They were able to intervene, net the bobcat, and took her back to our on-site Winsong Memorial Cat Hospital, where she was met by our vet, Dr. Justin Borstein. X-rays showed that she was a geriatric cat with extensive arthritis in her spine, but what had caused her lameness was that her back legs and pelvis had been utterly shattered, and the bones were sticking out of open wounds. This old, injured bobcat had apparently dragged herself to the water's edge to drink and was about to die a most horrific death. Instead, she was spirited to safety and sedated for her exam. When we saw, I watched the whole thing on the live webcam, that she had no chance of healing from her wounds given the severity of her advanced age, we had to make the heartbreaking decision to help her pass on to better hunting grounds through a painless injection while she slept. Making those kinds of circle-of-life decisions are always hard, even when we are absolutely sure it is the kindest thing to do. Given the fact that we've rescued hundreds of exotic cats and over 800 domestic cats in our foster program, I've had to make that decision far more than anyone is designed to handle. And the circle of life song will surely flood them all back through my mind while I'm trying to hold back tears and hold my head high in the dance. E.T. asked, how do you feel about all of the music being cat-themed so far? Do you or Pasha have any say in what songs you dance to? I answered, when I was invited to be on Dancing with the Stars, they asked me for my favorite songs, and most of them are cat-themed. I don't know until the week before which ones they might choose. I know Pasha is the one who creates the choreography, so I don't know if he has a choice in the songs, or if he's just really good at creating something amazing regardless of the canvas he's given. E.T. asked, what about the costumes? You look like a golden goddess ready for the Met Gala this week. Was the crown hard to dance in? I said, I thought the costume in week 1 was the most amazing dress I'd ever seen, but the wardrobe crew really outdid themselves in week 2. I felt like I was just dripping gold. The crown was actually 2 props they had created but not used in some other setting. When they asked which one to go with someone, I think it was my hairstylist, Anthony Wilson said, how about both? Pasha and I had a lot of concern about the crown. We both absolutely wanted it in the dance, but I didn't know if the weight and pressure of wearing it all day would squeeze my brains out of my ears. Pasha wasn't sure we could do all of the turns under his arm, and we didn't get a chance to check that out until show day, just a few hours before the live show. Once it was attached to my head, I was going to be stuck in it, so I think we had a rehearsal at 11 a.m. in it, and then I was wearing it through the end of the show and a couple hours of press Zoom calls. Through clever placement and anchoring to an added braid, it wasn't uncomfortable at all. There was a bit of a mishap when Anthony clamped it all down and left for lunch. I wasn't thinking about the fact that I was wearing a pullover shirt, and it was a struggle to pull it over the ground. My hair ended up all in a tangle on the spikes, which resulted in a frantic call to Anthony to try and help me pull all of my hair back out of the spikes and put it back where it belonged. The rest of the night, I was banging that crown into curtains, walls, the plexiglass sheets that separate the dancers on the balcony, and Pasha. During all of our rehearsals, we cleared the crown on the turns, but I must have moved abruptly in the live show and whacked it against Pasha in the very first turn. Afterward, he said he felt it, but it made me smile when it happened, so he thought it added to the joy of the dance when I couldn't contain my laughter. What can you tease about what you'll be wearing next week? I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it will be amazing. It's Disney night, and that has a pretty high bar to live up to based on past years. E.T. said, you got a little emotional in your package this week. You said you were going to give your family a heads up about how vulnerable you got. Did they watch the show last night? I answered. I knew that I had cried during the heart-to-heart with Pasha because his eyes welled up with tears too. I figured there was no way that wasn't going to be in the package. I thought I'd have plenty of time to tell my family not to worry about me crying. I thought I would be able to explain that we had talked for a long time and about how hard it has been for me to see the way Tiger King's gross misrepresentation of me had caused them so much pain. Imagine if your loved one or mother were accused of such a heinous crime and you knew they were all lies by vicious people. Of course you would want to defend your loved ones, and yet the media has just eaten up the trash talk and not bothered to do any real investigation into the court cases that have already been resolved on the matter back in the 90s. The press just keeps repeating the same hateful, untrue comments from unreliable accusers instead of reading the Hillsborough County Court Case 97-2001. Instead, first thing in the morning that day, I see the press is already using the clip of me crying on the couch all over the place. You can imagine their panic when they saw me losing control, because they thought all of the pressure had taken me to a place they almost never see me go. E.T. asked, "What did they think, and how proud are they of you, especially your daughter?" And I answered, "Once they understood the context of my tears, they seem assured that I'm not cracking under the pressure of too little sleep, too much exertion, and too heavy a workload. Both of them would tell you that they would rather I cry than hold it in, but I don't think either of them would ever want to see the way I cry when there's no one around. They deal with so many stressors because we are dealing with life and death situations all the time and have to keep our cats and our people safe. We can't fail because there is no safety net out there for the cats, who can cost as much as $10,000 a year in food and vet care. We have reserves for a crisis that will carry our cats through, but it could mean stopping all of the important work we are doing to end the abuse and trade in big cats so that they can be saved in the wild where they belong." E.T. said, "Caitlin had a scare last night, an ankle injury. Dancing with the Stars takes a serious toll on the body. How are you holding up with everything? Any pain, injuries, etc.?" I answered, "My worst injuries so far have been my hands. I hit something by accident in the apartment within the first couple of days here, and the only reason I can use it at all is Pasha knows the best tricks of the trade for sprains. I whacked my finger into a spinning camera on the dance floor and really felt that the next day, but thankfully it was minor and over. Today, I did so many tippy-toe steps that my ankles feel like elephant feet, so I'll probably be using more of that Arnicare gel. Show days have been turning out to be too busy to eat. I get a morning meal, but then the day starts at 8 a.m. and runs until 9 p.m., and there just isn't time for food. Besides, Victor del Castillo's amazing artwork via makeup wouldn't fare well if I did. I eat alone mostly and have developed some sloppy habits." E.T. asked, "Anything else you'd like to add about how you're feeling going into week 3? And I said, "I watch the other dancers and see so much raw, natural talent in all of those left on the show. It's going to take nothing short of a miracle to make it to week 4.
Hey everybody, it's Carole and Pasha, and I don't know what all the scores are yet, but it looks like we're at the bottom of the leaderboard again, so we really need your votes. If you could go to votecats.com, and that'll get you to the Dancing with the Stars. And can you tell them more about how the voting works?
Yes, you can text Carole to 21523. You can text up to 10 times, and if you go to abc.com, you can vote there up to 10 times per device per couple. So guys, please go ahead and vote. We need your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I know you guys have been watching and sharing and voting, and I've gotten so many texts and messages from you guys. You're just absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, for those of you that are just now getting on here, please go to votecats.com. This is all about the cats. As long as we can stay into the competition, it'll keep the cats in the spotlight, and I know how much you guys love all those lions and tigers and bobcats. And when they gave me Pasha here, I knew he was going to be Bobcat Tough and Tiger Tough and Bobcat Strong. That was what we wanted, and man, he has really proven to be an excellent trainer. I know everybody's always asking about your outfits and about your dancing, and they just absolutely love you.
We'll go to more lives and we'll talk in more detail about everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going to do more.
Votecats.com.
If you're enjoying my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find other ways to connect to me over at bigcatrescue.org/Carole.Baskin.